certainly wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's definitely better than it was on my end.
Okay, I just popped mine on there.
You did? Alright, I'll check it for you.
Streaming WoW though. Probably turn the stream off on Discord. It still doesn't look great. I don't know. I guess it's not that bad. It does kind of still have some choppiness to it though.
Why am I not finding the YouTube page yet? There you are. Yeah, it's still pretty lossy, I'd say.
I mean, it got better after a little bit. Maybe it's because it was just still. Yeah, I'd say never mind. It's.
I'm seeing it get pretty bad at times on my end.
I don't understand why. I've direct into my fucking modem.
I'll try doing. Oh, I just selected 1080p and it's actually not that bad. Never mind.
Oh, quality 1080p. No, mine was on auto.
Yeah, YouTube went to auto for me as well. So I'd say go ahead and move your camera around.
I'm trying. It's just a little bit of a delay. I was kind of standing there while I was messing with the screen.
Like try rotating once. Oh. As soon as you start getting a lot of movement, that's when it just falls apart for whatever reason.
It looks good to me. My end. I don't know. It's because maybe you're currently streaming.
Could be related. Yeah.
Stream this for a little bit, just for the fuck of it, I guess. Just for the F of it. I mean. I'm glad that it's not, that XSplit isn't just fucking immediately breaking the sound on. It's probably not very fun to watch it without sound. But XSplit for the longest time used to just immediately crash any program that I would try to launch while it was running.
Yeah.
Seemed to think that XSplit was a virus or something. Paladin's, I guess, not too bad after I got a little bit of gear, but man, like there for a while, it was almost unbearable. Landrix the Dishonored.
I guard the wild. Move swiftly. Find me when Kagraxis has been slain. I sense an even darker presence here.
You think somebody could pull off a stream of them just writing short stories? Just like off the cuff.
People do IRL streams, so maybe. I don't know. I don't know if there's a...
You need to get me out of this cage.
market for that or not, but
I would make the market for it, Charles. Some of those just like crack me up. It's like you get a quest to let this person out of this cage from the person that's inside the cage, and then you let them out of the cage and they just give you fucking completion for the quest. Oh, it's funny. Fuck. In a grotto.
But your archdruid belongs to me now. The nightmare will consume you.
Fucker sounds pretty desperate. Desperate to get his ass kicked. That's what we need to make, Charles. A game where we walk up to people, tell them that we're going to kick their ass, and then just take our clothes off. It would make millions.
I don't feel like that's the case, but alright.
That would be a pretty cool game to just have it so that the AI was such that you could prank the AI. And there's just, since the AI was so good, it would just, you could prank it many different ways that weren't even necessarily built. They weren't even like hard built into the game.
I do not understand why golf courses are open right now. On the Iowa side.
They've got ball washers, man.
Apparently.
So there was this debacle.
stay 6 feet apart.
Oh,
Anyways, go ahead.
so there was this whole thing, which, I mean, on one hand, it's kind of funny. On the other hand, it's very disgusting. So I'll just make that caveat. But I guess there's these little water things, like a water cooler, like all over this particular golf course down over in Nauvoo. And anyway, I guess the high school golf team decided upon themselves to start occasionally taking a shit in the water thing, and got the school golf team banned from going to the course for, like, I think 2 or 3 years, because somebody legitimately drank the water and got sick.
What?
Yeah, it was a bad deal, man. I mean, shenanigans, but really fucking gross shenanigans. Like, Jesus, bro.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
You imagine just how fucking mad. You just, oh, I'm not feeling very good. You go to the doctor and they're just like, so, have you been eating poop?
I mean,
Just wondering, because your talk screen kind of showed up that you've been eating poop. Like, just imagine the line of questioning.
I know, right?
So this is what popped up on here, and I've just got to ask you a few questions because of that. Do you eat feces? No. I'm just kind of wondering how they caught him. I mean, obviously they would have found out somehow that the poop was in there, but how did they know who did it? They just assumed that it was the kids that did it. Which, I mean, that's probably a pretty good assumption, but
I mean, I guess you could probably set up some kind of monitoring of some sort.
yeah. Start testing the kids' fecal matter.
I mean, I don't know if you needed to go that far, but
I'll be right back. Do you like my "Be Right Back" banner?
I didn't see it. What is? Sorry, I had two other maps pulled up. Oh yeah, it's very very 90s. It reminds me of like what the fuck was that show? Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
Fuck. Well, at least it was worth looking for. Fuck. Fucking run around trying to figure out which bush I need to get the fucking loot from here.
All of the bushes.
Foolish mortal, the tears of a loon are mine now.
I think I checked every bush.
This Malfurion wants them back so badly. He can seek me out.
They do say that a bird in hand is better than two in the bush.
I've never heard that before.
Gotta make sense. A bird in hand is better than two in the bush. So if you already have a bird, better than trying to search for multiple birds that might be in a bush.
I mean, I feel like I'd be able to just see both birds in the bush, though.
Yeah, but you gotta catch them. Be able to eat them. Presumably you're not... I mean, I guess you could sell the bird too. But either way, you'd still be better off having one bird in hand instead of two of them in the bush.
I suppose. I feel like that kind of makes sense.
It almost makes me want to go buy a shrubbery. My telemarketing team name was the Knights of Knee.
I think you've told me that before. I
Yeah.
recall that.
Heck. Oh, the days of being excessively poor yet working a lot. Shitty days.
I have seen your dreams. Time may pass.
Talk to this mob and it's like, I have seen your dreams. It's like, ugh. Fucking weirdo.
Rage has blinded Malfurion. He and Xavius have a long history of conflict.
All I had to do for that quest was literally just ride a dragon for about 15 seconds. This zone is there's a reason that I choose this zone. Dead serious. It's just because you get an insane amount of experience for doing essentially nothing, and the zone goes pretty quick.
I will spread the nightmare to every mountain.
The previous character, my Death Knight, I went to this zone called High Mountain, where you get high all the time on a mountain. And you can quite literally, in that one zone, by doing all of the quests, level from 100 to 110, which is pretty much just that entire expansion.
The nightmare will consume all of you. Grow! Take this forest!
He must have been coming from the other way.
Nothing can withstand the might of Xavius.
Get shot.
I did not get shot. I had somebody shoot at me and then throw a grenade, but I shot him a couple times and then ran away. I wasn't. It was just another scav, so it just wasn't really worth it to me to. Like, I've already got good loot on me, so I just didn't want to hang around and see if he killed me or not. You know.
Grow! Take this forest!
And as a scav, I don't. It's not really like getting a kill on another player scav. Just wasn't really worth it. He saw me first, but then I spotted him right away.
Are you saying that you're yellow? Is that what you're saying, Charles?
You could say that.
I will
I'm not
spread
saying that,
the
but you could say
nightmare
that.
to every mountain and valley.
In the moment, it just seemed like a much better idea to. You're almost to the extract. You just go ahead.
Is it a
keep it on.
is it a magic moment?
I don't
This magic moment, even? Easy peasy.
Don't really have anything worth anything.
I just had a kind of annoying pee debacle where I was aiming at the toilet and somehow a stream went off to the side and peed on my foot. That was real nice.
Okay.
Saying.
Like just now.
Like earlier when I peed.
Oh. Okay.
It's kind of disheartening, really. Felt as though that my aim was off.
Sorry to. If only your aim. If only your aim was. I was telling you though, like, do you feel like you're doing better with that gun the way it is?
We've got them cornered.
That AK-74? Or did you enjoy shooting that gun the way it was?
I didn't put a butt stock thing on it.
Oh, really?
I just had a sight on it, that was all. I've used that gun a lot.
We are
Not been my first rodeo with that gun.
Oh, okay. That was
What brings you?
not necessarily my first rodeo with it, but third or fourth maybe.
That's my typical budget gun, is that gun in particular.
Oh, alright.
Just because I still have a bunch... remember a while back we got that... was it the New Year's package that had a bunch of fucking... Yeah, it has a bunch of that ammo in there. Actually, it didn't have ammo for that. It had it for a different gun, the 5.545, but I bought a bunch of ammo a while back, and I've just been kind of sticking with the AK-74 when I can.
Yeah.
Just because of that.
How much time we got left? 14 minutes. I feel like I need to get the fuck back home. There goes the scav.
That Dan Crenshaw guy also was trying to say that blaming or saying that Trump has a bunch of people's lives on his hands or whatever for the kind of miserably failing on the pandemic is just a complete... I don't know. He is essentially saying that it's just bullshit that people would say that, and I'm just thinking, yeah, I don't really think that's bullshit.
I mean, how would he not be responsible?
Yeah, I don't see how you could ever say that he's not responsible for that. He's literally the one that broke apart the task force.
Yeah.
He's literally the one that went and decided to just go fucking golfing over the past couple of months while, you know, all of this shit was coming to a head. I mean, and going over and trying to say, oh well, he the thing that they try to keep deferring to is that supposedly the media and Joe Biden criticized him for closing borders for people traveling from China, saying that it was racist or something like that. And it's like, who gives a shit if they fucking said that? They're idiots too. That doesn't mean that there's not fucking lives on his fucking hands.
Yeah.
It just means they're also fucking idiots. And okay, so he did one good thing, whoop-de-fucking-do. If he would have done a lot of good things, and, you know, more importantly, if he would have literally done nothing in that particular regard, he would have been better off. But he decided to go over and do something that was completely against the American people's interest. Because of his hate for fucking Obama administration, because he's clearly a fucking racist.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, but that shit, he is just a dead fucking racist, dude.
You just reminded me of a Facebook. So that one guy that kept posting about the science and stuff, or the 5G stuff the other day.
Oh yeah.
This is from before. He was posting about them like putting the 5G towers up or whatever, and then basically he was saying like he saw some Mexicans like, doing it. He's like, these illegal immigrants were installing 5G.
What? Just because they're Mexican, they're automatically illegal immigrants.
And he said he went up to them and talked to them and like try to find out what they were doing, and then some girl responded to it, and she's like, "How do you know that they were illegal? I think you just might be racist." And I don't disagree with her. I think that guy might just be racist.
I always like just get cracked up on this whole illegal immigrant thing anyway, because it's to me, they're just like, oh, they're stealing our fucking jobs. It's like, dude, what fucking job do you have? Where are you, like, out picking fucking crops in a field? Or, I mean, I'm not trying to be, you know, like, that's really not trying to be like a racist statement, but let's be fucking serious here. The only jobs that I've ever seen immigrants have are the jobs that literally nobody ever wants. And it just blows my mind that people are saying, oh, they're stealing fucking jobs or something like that. And even still, if it's, you know, in the case of maybe, you know, Indian population, a lot of people bitch about them stealing, you know, like tech jobs and stuff and jobs in the medical field. Okay, I mean...
So this is one area where, like, I try to catch myself not trying to be, like, prejudiced or anything like that, but, man, I feel like a lot of Indians themselves are pretty racist, too.
Yeah, they are.
There's a lot of them that just are not very good at their jobs, and there's a lot of poor quality work. So, like, my problem with Indians immigrating and like stealing American jobs and stuff like that is like you're literally getting a lesser like quality workforce.
Yeah. But yet they will go out of their way to try to convince you that their shit is like the best in the fucking world. They're essentially like these.
They just have bodies to throw at it.
I'm dead serious. Like there was this. There's this documentary that I watched where they were actually in India and they were going to all of these different telemarketing fucking centers because that's like the top job in India is to be in tech support, you know, in a telemarketing fucking, you know, building or whatever. And there were multiple conversations that were had with Indians. It wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like somebody reporting back that they heard something or whatever. It was like they were literally saying that they truthfully feel that they are better at computer science, at IT, at, you know, you name it, than Americans are in general. Like they truthfully fucking believe that they are better quality than Americans are. And I would say, of the programmers that I've met, some of them were in Lincoln and others were in other jobs. I would say, I don't know that, like, for example, Raj was necessarily that way, but that other guy definitely was.
Oh, yeah.
That guy from from H&M Blasting, or whatever that blast place was, or whatever.
Yeah, the blasting company, I can't remember what.
but I looked at his code, and while it wasn't terrible, because we all know who's actually terrible, um, it still wasn't that great. I mean, he was essentially just like he made like a bunch of generic add-on instructions that he could just chain together, and each add-on instruction was a step.
Yeah.
So he was just creating like just a giant recipe system, which that's the way that like Delta V, which is a distributed control system that they use over at the place I work right now. That's essentially what Delta V does. They just have a bunch of pre-made instructions that essentially step you through a recipe.
Yeah.
He actually offered me a job, but I would have had to move to Chicago.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. That was a really good fucking scav run for me here. By the way, weapon save keyword. I have to look this up. Some weapons.
If you got like a legit job for 6-figure salary, but you had to move to Chicago, would you do it?
I mean, I have a 6-figure job, and I didn't have to move to Chicago.
Yeah, but you're not 100% sure that it's permanent.
True.
Do you get like a 401k and...
They don't match. But I can contribute to a 401k if I want. Just don't apply anything to it in addition to what I'm applying. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
And
I don't know that I get one either.
it sounds like there's an option for me to get health insurance, but I'm pretty sure it's just I can pay for health insurance through them.
They don't even subsidize it?
I don't think so. I haven't really looked at it yet. Kind of just trying to get ahead from where I'm at right now. Hopefully, shortly I can like next month or something like that, I can go get health insurance. I just haven't really looked into it too much yet. He has currently no use. Okay, so this key. It's weird that there's keys in the game that have no use.
Yeah, what's that about? They're like just keeping it as a placeholder for a later map.
I think they just have a plan for like certain saves and stuff like that. I think they wanted to make it so like saves and stuff you have to have a key for, but I don't know. All I know is I'm glad I found some FCON again. Oh, let's pick that shit up. I don't know what the hand drill is used for. I think I need
The trees
Grady something in my hideout.
but there were a madness to my
The nightmare stain
I just don't know what.
but perhaps we can hold it back.
I still legitimately do find it funny that motherfucking even up until recently they've been having fucking trouble on that fucking production line, dude.
Oh yeah.
What a goddamn joke, man.
It's all contractors now,
Yeah.
from what I understand. I don't know. I don't really care. It just ended up becoming a fucking situation where everybody thought they knew how to do shit. Everybody thought they knew better than everybody else and how to accomplish the task that was at hand.
The thing that I think most annoyed me about it is that I really feel as though they kind of just over exaggerated how much work was involved because they don't know
Oh
what they're
yeah.
doing.
It's literally just groups of people who are claiming to be experts in a subject matter that they've never had experience in. Like,
Yeah.
as far as all the data collection and stuff is considered, like they have no fucking idea how to even fathom how the architecture behind that fucking works, and yet they somehow know that, like, they just know how to track fucking, like, they couldn't even fucking move the numbers through, or the barcodes through the system. Like, that was a monumental task to them to track a unique ID per being through the system, and like, oh, how are we gonna do this? Fucking
It's not
do a
that
proper
hard.
handshake, dude. Like,
I kind of about ran into the same issue, but I kind of squashed that shit today in my fucking PLC meeting. We've got an actual PLC group, which most of those guys, not saying anything bad about against them or anything, but they've been fucking bamboozled, man. Like these integration companies have come in and just fucking given them a piece of trash and then said, all right, well, if you want us to work on it, it'll be like $75 an hour and you'll have to, pay for our hotel room and all this other shit, and just completely fucked them over. And then they've got these guys that aren't really PLC programmers that had to essentially kind of learn from scratch. And, they kind of had to cobble some stuff together. But anyway, I I guess it was like last week, like towards the end of the week, I had a meeting where I was talking about reprogramming this depalletizer because it's just not great. Like it crashes. I think I already told you about it, but so anyway, I just kind of brought up, okay, well, we're just gonna start from scratch. Like this is kind of shit, and you're gonna end up spending more time trying to decipher this fucking bullshit than it would be to just do a hard-coded sequence and just be done with it. And this one, we call her Dr. K because she is literally a doctor of. She's a process engineer. She's all right. Don't get me wrong. She used to work at Arconic, and anyway, she was just like trying to pop up all these fucking like red flags. Like, yeah, well, anytime I've ever had a machine, it's always been the case where it's way more work to start over than it would be to just fix the program. And I was like, yeah, in general, I would say that you're right, but in this case, they literally have fucking 6,000 tags for a machine that literally just sweeps off 6 layers of bottles off of a pallet. I was like, you don't need 6,000 tags. You don't even need fucking probably 1,000 tags to do that. And I was like, and for you to go over and try to go through and decipher what all that shit is and then get it organized and then try to, turn it into something that's not garbage, it would just be a monumental task that you would much rather just do it a way that is standardized and actually like, I don't know, like I just feel like it would just be easier to just do a hard-coded sequence rather than them have this add-on instruction recipe system where we only literally use one bottle type. So there's not even a case where we're ever going to program any recipes for jack shit, but yet there's this whole recipe system where you can adjust recipes.
yeah.
But so anyway, like she just kept like over and over again. It was all like, yeah, but this and that, and then like a couple other people were saying, well, what's going to be the business cost for for doing this and blah blah blah. And it's like, look, guys, I like the thing that kind of frustrated me is like I had brought this up in a PLC meeting previously, and I had said, okay, like this is the problem that we're facing. This is kind of what I would like to do, and like nobody said a peep in that meeting, and it was like to the point where I brought in some of those same people that were in that PLC meeting, and they were starting to say, kind of like go back on the shit that they said in the PLC meeting with all of the business people there, and just causing a bunch of confusion. When it's like, dude, these business people, they don't understand this shit. So if there's like any dissenting voices whatsoever, they're just going to assume that I'm just kind of like ramrodding my way into this and never talk to anybody. And it just kind of pissed me off. And like this meeting, I didn't go over and like literally bitch at anybody, but I just like brought it open. I was like, okay, in this, previous meeting that I had on this DPAL, I went over and I asked, or I started kind of trying to lay out a plan. I had a bulleted list, or even a checklist, of step by step every single thing that needs to be done. And the first part is in documentation. You know how it is, with me and my documentation and shit. And I said, and I'm going to need help from the team because, ultimately it's not just my machine, it's everybody's machine. We've got to all own it, and everybody needs to take part. So anyway, so they kind of went over and started like kind of saying the same things, but this time, the team members that were not in the DPAL meeting were there, and were like going over and backing me up with my boss there. And he went over and like messaged me right after the meeting. He was like, "That's actually a really good call out. I really appreciated that." And I was like, "Yeah, I just was kind of confused as to why they were bringing up all these different questions when I know that multiple times in multiple meetings over like 2-month period, nobody was saying a peep of anything, and then all of a sudden we get into this meeting where we're trying to, bring in, the operators, which don't have any fucking clue, and, the business guys who also don't really have much of a clue, and then they're starting to bring up all these questions, and it's like, where the fuck were you over the past couple of months where we've been talking about this?"
I am here.
I cannot tell where his voice is
to
coming
me.
from. Quickly, search the buildings to the east. I will scour the west for signs of him.
There's another thing that I was getting a little bit annoyed about, but it's whatever. Is I feel as though that I'm doing essentially another person's job on top of mine because they don't know how to do their job. There's this planner who's supposed to, like I'm supposed to just say what parts are needed, and they're supposed to just literally plan the job, like say, okay, this is like put together an actual job plan step by step of what needs to be done to complete the job, and also order whatever I specify the parts are going to be. And it's pretty well turned into that I'm doing all of that on top of just I literally just have to like set up the entire job by myself because of the planner like doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and literally the only thing he's done is just go order parts, and that's it. And I just keep wondering like what I just don't understand what this planner's job is. Like it seems like I'm just essentially doing his job, which I guess whatever, job security I suppose, but that's kind of what I've been looking at it. Instead of just bitching about it, it's like, whatever. If, I'm the one that keeps doing this, and, hopefully it'll be seen that, I'm being a team player and just doing it instead of, like, complaining about it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a certain point where it's like you're just being almost not necessarily like I don't want to say too much of a team player, but like you're just allowing somebody else to be a team player.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, and this isn't that guy's fault, but he has absolutely zero electrical experience, and he's the electrical planner. He's never been an electrician. He's never had any electrical training whatsoever. He's nothing. Like, he's pretty much an operator that they decided to make the electrical planner. And I'm just saying, like, it doesn't make any sense that they would put him in that position in the first place.
Yeah. How much does this key cost? Not that expensive, actually.
Material, you're creating your own opportunities. If you're writing your own material, you're creating your own opportunities. I'm writing the screenplay, and I find the whole process absolutely exhilarating.
What's yours about, if you don't mind me asking?
You've seen Star Trek: The Next Generation. What if you can do that for real? I'm walking along, and I see this beautiful girl, and I think I'd like to see her naked, and so all her clothes fall off.
Guess again, mortal.
All her clothes fall off.
Yes, and she's scrabbling around to get them back on again, but even before she can get her knickers on, I've seen everything. I've seen it all.
Okay. Is there a narrative at all? Is there like a story?
Well, I'm a sort of James Bond figure,
Right.
and I have to go to Iraq to rescue these hostages. And I get there, and I rescue them, but they're all women, and they're naked because their clothes have rotted off. But I get them into the helicopter. And they fly in the helicopter.
What the fuck?
But I can still sneak a look in the mirror, and I can see everything. You know, one of them's bending over, two of them are kissing.
They've turned lesbian.
Yeah, because they've been in the camp for so long. Yeah. I will make it so.
What the fuck? Oh.
Wait, what?
Where are you, Tyrande? Our master will burn this world, and you.
I will have to watch more of that, I guess, to find out.
I've heard a lot of people are not very happy with it.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
I haven't watched it.
I've heard there's some like religious shit in there where like Star Trek has never been religious, I don't think ever. There's been a couple occasional
Wait,
episodes.
is that video serious?
I don't know if it is or not. Brian just sent it to me.
It's got a bunch of religious stuff in it now, though?
I have heard. I haven't watched it myself, but I've heard that it has some religious shit in there.
Huh, interesting.
When it's like Star Trek has never been fucking religious. It's always been even in the canon of Star
If you
Trek.
exclude Star Trek being a religion in itself.
Fight much longer.
Say that Star Trek is a religion.
I mean, I think there's people out there that kind of consider it almost that, though, isn't there?
Maybe. I don't think that would be a legitimate religion unless it had a creed.
Yes,
They held services.
I am close now.
I don't know if anybody takes it that seriously.
Our chase is done.
Oh man.
We are wasting time. Yes, Sarah? No! What are we
Again?
waiting for? Come with me. Yes, Sarah won't stop until this whole realm is plunged into the nightmare.
Fuck.
Xavius is using Malfurion to bait me, to distract me from what must be done. We are the only ones who can stop Ysera. Ah, Malfurion.
Doesn't look like anybody's fucking with the caches.
Beautiful creature I have ever known.
This is your end, mortals. The dream is undone.
Not while I still draw breath. Cobra, keep her distracted. Diana, mend our wound. Champion, with me. Are we truly lost, Giselle? After all we have killed, all we have done.
My iron nightmare consumes all.
By the light of Elune, we will end this. I will end your torment, Trent. And I promise, we will avenge you.
Forgive me. It felt so real.
Was it that bush?
The goddess gives me strength. Heed the voice of Elune.
Dark Heart Thicket.
Finding these CMS kits enough that I'm gonna have to like start fucking taking them with me.
I've rarely found one.
Today we celebrate a great triumph, one paid for with the blood of those most dear to us.
So Franz has still been working.
Oh yeah.
Guess he's building that. There's a new ice rink in Coralville.
Oh really?
Talked with him for about 20 or 30 minutes today.
How's he doing? He had to do any court stuff yet, or?
Nah, court's been shut down. He said it's been pushed back to like June or so.
Oh.
It sounds like, which he said he's not gonna hold his breath or anything, but sounds like they're kind of going a little bit lenient on it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he learns.
Oh God, this has been an ongoing thing. I mean, I do sincerely wish that, but I'm just very skeptical. Never really fucking learns, man. I just think multiple times a day ever since I watched that fucking one guy on Rogan, like, trying to say that it's just completely unbelievable that people would be saying people's deaths are on Donald Trump's hands. Fucking crazy, man. Like, dude, I know you only got one eye, but I'm just saying, like, has Donald Trump skull fucked you? Because I shouldn't say that because he's a veteran, but still, like,
Who is this?
it's this Republican representative in Texas. I'm trying to remember his name here. And Rogan was like, "Oh, you know, you're so, objective, and you go over and tell people how it is, and mention, problems on both sides and all this other shit." And then he pretty much just kind of like called him on a multiple things, and I feel that he kind of was just squirming. It was like, "Oh, we could go over and talk about the numbers, but we didn't actually bring the fucking numbers up."
Those numbers.
It's like, well, I could go over and talk about the numbers, but we don't have time for that. But it would just be in general a pretty bad idea. I'm just saying. What the fuck is that shit?
So are you actually recording to disc while you play, or are you like just downloading from YouTube when you go to edit your stuff?
Yeah, I'm recording to my drive.